All right, so it looks like we are live with Lance from ThetaTraders.com, and I see a few people starting to come in. I recognize the name,
Yes.
Alicia Sprinkle. So hello, Alicia. I see David Kerfeld as well. He said hello from before. So hopefully you guys are excited about tonight's webinar. Hey, Aaron Perry, it's a shock to see you here.
Oh, again, you're at
Right,
100% streak right now.
right. Hey, Winning Stride, how's it going? Just see any comment in there as well. So yeah. So tonight is going to be pretty interesting. We have a really big win for you. So it's basically a prize draw for a $1,197 subscription that Lance has had huge success on over the last few years, and we're excited to really talk about what it's about today. And I'm just going to start posting in some of the Discords here to get some extra people in, make sure everybody knows that we're live right now. But yeah, do you want to maybe introduce yourself, Lance, while I'm doing this to people that maybe don't know who you are fully yet because they're just kind of new to the communities?
Yeah, welcome everybody. So I'm Lance. I'm a high school science teacher by day and ThetaTraders.com founding member during the day and at night as well. So I do a lot of science-based studying in not only my teaching, but also with trading and options and whatnot. So yeah, we've been running ThetaTraders almost 4 years now, I think. We're like 3.5 years or so. We started off with zero DTE and longer dated credit spreads. We still do those today, even. And I have pretty much any type of option selling technique. Option selling in general will have a highly probable chance of working out. And you won't necessarily make a ton of money in most cases, but you have that high chance. So just imagine that you could do a trade where it consistently makes 90% of the time that it works out. The other 10% of the time, you have to be careful and make sure that you're dealing with your budgeting and your risk allocations and whatnot. But it's good to have those constant wins over and over. It gives a lot of good motivation, is what I've found from a lot of people. Some people that do the buy side stuff, they have the potential to make more in certain trades, but the percentage chance of it working out is usually a bit lower. And that usually discourages people from making trades. So since I'm pretty busy, I'm teaching over 400 members at ThetaTraders.com and also teaching throughout the day. I want to make sure I have highly probable trades that I don't need to be watching at every second of the day. I got to make sure I enter at this moment and I want to close it 5 seconds later. So a lot of the trades that I do are more longer dated out, and it's very helpful for people that have long-term, full-time jobs, for instance, and they can't be watching the market from minute to minute.
Yeah, for sure. So you're already getting some praise from Winning Stride. He's saying Lance is a great teacher. I knew nothing about 6 weeks ago. Has really helped a lot. I think that's why I love partnering with Lance, because he really is a teacher at heart and he does teach all these different strategies in ThetaTraders.com. So I was wondering if maybe we should drop a link here to ThetaTraders.com for people that haven't had any introduction to that at all. So we can either screen share it and go through it real quick, or we can post it in the chat and people can go and check it out at their own leisure. What do you think?
Yeah, sure. If you could post that on your end.
Yeah, I'll just post that too.
Yeah, me and Kirk talked quite a bit in the Discord. We actually did a Zoom call as well. Um, I'm very open to doing one-on-one Zoom calls and group Zoom calls. Also, I get access to me at any time, just on quick messages on Discord. And Kirk has been learning quite a bit, and he's very active with doing these trades. So that's the main reason why I want to do this service, is to show people how that there's a way to sell options. Doesn't have to be super hands-on. It can be very passive, and you can make good returns.
Yeah, for sure. And so I posted the ThetaTraders.com link for people that want to go and see the different tiers of services and subscriptions. It's kind of inflated over the years to different levels of subscriptions. If you have any questions about it, though, just feel free to use the contact form on there, and you can ask Lance questions about the tiers. We do things like we do payment plans for people sometimes if they want to separate out the payments. We're pretty flexible in general about a lot of this stuff compared to a lot of like services that you might find. So we try and accommodate people as best as we can. So that's kind of the whole goal of the whole thing. But tonight, I think we want to talk a little bit about something that has been pretty surprising to me, which is this idea that you've won 100% of your trades on the safeguard trade strategy inside the ThetaTraders service in 2025, despite the fact that the market has been really nasty overall, not just in terms of going down, but also in terms of VIX spike, which is one of the killers for option sellers if they're not ready for it. And so I've been surprised at your success with it, and I'm hoping that we can go through kind of like your thought process of how you've managed to do this, because honestly, it's pretty impressive. Most people that were doing just like simple option selling naked puts, for example, would have got wiped out on that VIX spike that we saw that's still elevated at 30 something, you know, that spiked to 60 for several days, like not just like a short spike like you've seen in the past, but the VIX spiking like that, that was worse than Volmageddon, which was horrendous in August last year. And I think to see you survive and thrive in that environment has been really inspiring for me to be like, okay, the strategy it's robust, you know. So it's been good. So I wonder if we can start the conversation about that a little bit.
So yeah, as I mentioned in ThetaTraders.com, every month I do a group Zoom call with members, and if you join any plan, quarterly, safeguard, whatever, you'll get access to this. So I want to treat this webinar right now as almost like that group Zoom. So feel free to ask questions as you have them. That's why I'm here to explain these things. So yeah, Volmageddon happened in early August of 2024. Where the volatility spiked up really high, went up to the 60s in that Monday morning. It was the Bank of Japan, one of their biggest banks, was worried that they might go insolvent, and the whole world, currencies and markets, freaked out about it. And then it immediately dropped down again. At that moment, I had quite a few of the safeguard trades on, and I was, as a science teacher, trying to always learn, see what's happening with our data, and then trying to improve on it. During that time, the safeguard did get hurt pretty hard, but pretty much every strategy got hurt hard because the Volmageddon and VIX spiking up is going to make a lot of your option contracts use a lot more of your buying power compared to what it was before. So I did quite a bit of research. Anyone that's been in safeguard or in the lifetime plan, they've seen a lot of the different hedging strategies, how I'm updating the safeguard trade. And it's just like when you do a science experiment, you see observations, you make a prediction about what if I tweak so-and-so, and then back test, forward test it, see what happens from it. So
yeah,
if you
exactly.
see the chart there, this was in August. If you move your cursor a little bit to the left, you see that big green bar in August that hit at the it went up to the 60, but that was only in that day, and then it dropped back down to the 40s, which is still pretty elevated. If you look now in the last about month or so, we've hit that big VIX spike in the high 50s. I think it touched near 60. And then we've been staying at this high elevated VIX for quite a while right now. It's starting to settle down a little bit at the 30. But volatility, the average is around 17 and 19. And we were doing that throughout most of 2024, besides August. So we're still in that elevated VIX environment, which makes it a little bit difficult to actually trade off of it because, again, you're using a lot more of your margin requirements because of it.
Well, yeah, so I guess that's kind of for new people to selling options. Why is a high elevated VIX when you're in a position such a bad problem, right? It's because of the buying power that suddenly gets used when you're selling futures options. That's kind of like, it's an opportunity if you're lucky enough to get in at the top, for example, but you don't really know where the top is. But if you're in a position down on the left here, like when VIX is very, very, very low, then you're going to find your buying power contracts massively as VIX spikes. And so these are the dangerous spikes that happen every 6 months, maybe every year. It's hard to say. Recently, it's been more with the Trump tariffs and stuff. It's obviously caused the stuff on the right. But what's amazed me is you've been able to weather this last storm so well.
Yep. After that August VIX spike, we've been at 100% win rate since like middle of August all the way till now.
All the way to now.
And it actually has been a higher profit than the trades before that VIX spike in August because as we'll see shortly in the presentation, we have the hedges in place and we have put debit spreads on, and those have started to profit. I remember about a year ago, Russell, you were like, "Oh, I don't like these put debit spreads. They never seem to work, but they have been working in the last month and a half or so."
Right. Again, it's having that bigger frame mindset where you're looking at a trading plan which isn't just a month or 2 months. It's a year, 2 years, 3 years of trading a strategy where those put debit spreads work in your benefit now, but they weren't working for the whole of last year, for example. But now they're really helping like a lot. So yeah, you're definitely somebody who can see the bigger picture with a lot of stuff, which helps.
So I'm going to share my screen. I have a quick presentation here. And as you guys are having questions, feel free to let me know.
All right, I see your thing pop up. That's not it. Let me add this page. There we go. All right, yeah. So here we go. I didn't know you'd prepared something, so it's cool.
Yeah, spur of the moment. I haven't had much time lately, but we'll just get to it. So these are a few of the foundational principles I'm doing. So how to grow an account through using futures. You could do all this stuff fully cash secured if you want as well. And if you do join Safeguard Trade, you'll see some of the fully cash secured positions I do on the covered strangle. We've had a few live streams about that as well. So if you're interested, we could send you the replay on that. You get access to both of these. Today, I'm going to focus mostly on the futures and how we use margin to help us amplify our returns. You got to be careful with margin, though, because it's a double-edged sword. As you start using a lot more of your buying power and that VIX spikes, it could actually make it worse in terms of being able to manage your positions. So we're going to look at my main goals, strategy, how I manage the trades depending on what's happening with the market, how much possible income, and then evaluate and tweak it. So my goal is to earn at least 2% a month on my futures trades. That may not sound like a ton of money if you're used to buying options where, I need to get my 20% a month, but then you'll have a few bad trades that don't work, and then you could blow up your account or lose a lot. So I want to come up with consistent ways to make at least the 2% a month. And the Safeguard trades has been a bit higher than that this year. I also want to do a minimal time of management. I'm teaching all day. I do some trades that typically go out about a month out. And then some of those put debit spreads are actually 150 days out, where you literally just put them on and you just set and forget it in most cases. And what we're going to do is use low delta trades. So delta has to do with the percent chance that a strike price will go in the money. So let's say I sold a 4,500 put and the delta is 0.05. That means there'll be a 5% chance at expiration we'll get down to that 4,500 price. But that's really far from the current price. We're at the mid 5,000s or so last I checked. So I looked for really far out trades. The way I'm doing this is a Safeguard trade every month. I'm going to show you some sample ones that you do. On the guides that I wrote, there's 10 different iterations of it. I use 2 of them in general, but I will start to use some others when I see opportunities arise. I also do the covered strangle, which is part of the Safeguard trade, and hedges my accounts. This is the big one where after that August spike, I wanted to make sure that I was able to hedge my account properly to make sure that when the VIX spikes happen, not only would I not blow up my account, but I would at least break even or possibly even benefit from it. The Safeguard trade has a hedge in place, and then there's additional hedges you could add on depending on the market conditions. So what I changed was I made a much wider width put debit spread. So the way a put debit spread works is you're paying a debit, so you're paying a small amount of your account, but you're doing a very wide width. I'll typically go 100 width out, And then if you do it with MES, that's a 5 multiplier. If you do the 100 whiff times 5, you can make $500 on a trade, and it only might cost you about, give or take, around $40 or $50. So you could easily 10x your money on the protected part of your trade. On the put side, one of the things that I changed recently is I'm doing more shorter dated naked puts. What we used to do was about 120 to 150 days out, which is fine because you go far out of the money. However, if you have the VIX spike, it's going to significantly hurt your account. I did a recent safeguard about right near the middle of that VIX spike. I think the VIX was at the high 20s, low 30s when I added it in. And then the volatility went to the mid 50s. And I was still okay just because the shorter dated put made it go close to expiration. We weren't close to the strike price. And then it still just profited it out. This is perfectly fine to do on its own, but then I also hedge as well. And you could use, I prefer around 0.5% a month on your hedges. The goal is to make around 2.5% on the safeguard, and then you're paying about 0.5% for additional hedges. There's a lot of different hedges that I show in the guides that you have if you join. Some of the easy ways is to buy more put contracts instead of selling them. You buy them. You could buy more put debit spreads. You could try to fund them by selling puts as well. But there's a lot of different ways that you could use to hedge your account. My goal here is to profit at around 500% on the hedges. It got close to it. It actually didn't hit when I actually did it though, but we're at like 400% or so. I decided to keep them on just to keep that protection in place. So again, safeguard about 2.5% a month, and then use about 0.5% for hedges to have even more protection. And then you can make more off the debit spreads. Here are the results so far of 2025. I actually started it in 1205, but I put it for 2025 because it expired in the beginning of January. These are the put debit spreads. I've been doing 100 with. So this first one here, I bought a 5,800 put, and then I sold a 5,700 put. It cost me 14.75 in premium. With futures, you multiply that by 5, so that's about $75 or so. And then I closed it out at 80. So that was almost 4.5 times the initial premium that I made. $326 profit on that one. Then a few more. I actually went even further out of the money when the volatility started to get a little higher, and then bought one at 7, sold it at 53.5. That's trying to do the math in my head, about a 7x return on the debit spread. And then I currently have a few more on in place. The naked puts, these are typically around a month out. So if I sold it on 1205, I'm making it expire right on New Year's, taking in about 14 to 17 premium. And then I'll either let it expire if it's really far away, or in these cases, I close them out at a pretty decent profit as well. So what's interesting about this data so far, the protection has actually paid more than the actual option selling part. And that's really all I got left. I see a few questions coming up. So I'll unshare my screen at this point. Russell, you want to share a few of the questions that you see in the comments? And as you have more questions, feel free to post them.
Sure, yeah, let's start going through the questions. So it's always difficult to know what the audience is when we're doing these presentations. And so the trades that Lance is talking about are the 112 trades, which means that you have 2 sold naked puts on futures. You can do ES or MES. You can use any brokerage you want, but we use TastyTrade usually because it gives the best buying power, bang for your buck.
Yeah, this works on TastyTrade, Thinkorswim, or Interactive Brokers. Those are the 3 most common. Not all brokerages allow futures.
Yeah, and so here's a question from David. He says, so you put on 2 trades, and so you have to close 2 trades, or do they get combined so there's only 1 trade to close? I've never understood that. So David's obviously coming from a point of view where he's never really done more of these complex kind of trades. So
Sure.
maybe you could explain to him kind of a
Yeah, that's a
little
good
bit.
question. You could do it either way. You could close the whole thing out in one trade. On Tasty Trade, I do that occasionally. You could also break it up into 2 separate trades. So I'm doing one trade where I'm taking in my income, and that's typically about a month out. But then I'm buying the put debit spread about 4 or 5 months out. And then when the 1 month trade closes, I leave the longer dated one on. And in many cases, you don't even do anything with the sold puts that you're doing. You just let them expire.
Yeah. And in the service that Lance runs, he basically gives you all the details that you need. So he'll say, hey, sell these at this strike and buy this at this strike and sell this at this strike. So it's all kind of laid out for you inside the ThetaTraders Safeguard program. So it's a lot more simple than you think it was. For years, I put off this style of trading, and it was a real shame. I should have started it earlier. So I thought it was too complex to bother
Hey, you
with.
have lifetime access like everyone else that joins, so you
Yeah.
have plenty of time to learn. I get questions still, like people signed up a year or two ago, and then they're starting to be like, "Oh, look at these results. Can you help me with it?" And that's why I'm here.
Another question from Tommy. If we want to trade index futures instead of options while using the Theta Pro indicator, and what time would you recommend? That's a good question.
Trade and well, that's a whole nother viewpoint. Theta Pro is an indicator I helped develop where it gives you an indication if you want to sell calls or sell puts. You could trade index futures with it. If you see a sell put, that means that it's a fairly bullish setup because if we're thinking the market's going to go up, you want to sell puts below it. So if you see sell put, you would just buy a futures contract, or you could buy index future like SPX, SPY, stuff like that. If you see a sell call, you go the opposite way because sell call means you want to go above it. I got my bouncy ball here. It's my kid's ball. So if the market's going down, you want to sell a call, or I would short the contract. It'll probably make more sense to short an MES or ES contract. You could do it with an index option as well.
Yeah, and for you guys that are hanging on here, in the next 10 minutes or so, we'll announce the winner for the free Safeguard trade system. I just want you guys to understand what it is as best you can. You can do that by going to ThetaTraders.com and looking at what you get for the service, and also asking Lance questions directly here and now about what the service is about so that we can be sure that it's something that you want. Here's a question from Martin J. What do you mean 2% a month? Is it 2% of net liquidation value?
Yes, that's exactly right. So if your account size is say $10,000 and that's your net liquidating value, I'm going to go for at least $400. And this will be 2% of that. Oh wait, 10,000? It'll be $200 for the month. That'll be the 2% is what my goal is. Yes.
And the idea here is that you're looking for small amounts frequently that almost never lose. And especially if you can add these hedges in, you can actually end up benefiting even more when you might have lost in the past. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting strategy in that it's very high win rate, very, very high win rate. Like it can be 100% for months and months and months and months and months. And then suddenly you get a VIX spike, and suddenly you might find yourself having to struggle a little bit. You might find that some of your hedges are going off and they're firing up, and your naked puts are starting to go, off a little bit. And so the idea with the safeguard trades is the system balances out and you continually make these consistent profits even in the most volatile situations, which you can't say at the moment. We are not in one of the most volatile situations we've seen in years.
Yeah.
And Lance is still winning with this. So that's
It's
kind
a
of the idea.
it's a market right now, but I have a lot of these put debit spreads in place, a lot of different hedges that are able to take advantage and help, cushion the blow, so to speak, on your buying power.
So WWZD Gaming says, do you have a breakdown of how to manage these trades, similar to how Phil has his strategy laid out in his zero DTE service, or do you alert the hedges and stuff to manage the trade over the lifetime?
I
Good
guess
question.
it's really both. Yeah, I wrote pretty detailed guides, and there's a video guide on exactly how to implement, how to manage a trade, how to allocate how much funds to use based on your account size. So one of the big things is to not over allocate, to have too much positions on. Um, it's similar to Phil's strategy. There's a little bit more nuance to how we do this with futures, just because there's different opportunities that can arise. Like when the volatility spikes up, we might tweak some things a little bit. When the volatility is lower, we're gonna tweak it a different way as well. I alert all the trades that I do, and then I alert the hedges. There's a big hedge guide. I'll say sometimes where now might be a good opportunity to hedge that the volatility was low. I remember about 2 weeks ago, the market went, it was up almost 3% in the morning. And then I wrote immediately in the hedge guide, now's a good time to take some risk off the table if you need. And literally the market dropped and it closed like down almost 2% the same day. So there were some people that took advantage of that and they got out of a tough bind just because they were knowing that, okay, now's a good time to take the risk off. So yeah, it's a little bit of both, breakdown and I alert when I do stuff.
Yeah. All right, more questions. How about TradeStation? Have you heard TradeStation's particularly bad or good for futures trading?
I'm not sure if they allow it. I'm not, yeah, that will have to look up. I know they have futures, but I'm not sure if they have futures options. It looks like they probably do. I'm just looking at the website right now. I would consider the fees for it. Tasty Trade has good low commissions on the trades. I'm not sure at the top of my head what TradeStation's commissions are.
Yeah, it's something to ask TradeStation directly about, or just Google it and figure out if TradeStation. I know in ThetaTraders we all gravitated towards Tasty Trades. It's easy to open an account. They don't require very much of a minimum balance. They say yes to everything. They give you your options and your ability to sell options and everything. So these strategies, they're worthwhile enough that if you need to open a different brokerage account and put some money aside in there, and we'll talk about how much some money is in just a second because I'm looking at some of the other questions here. And so, like, even if your current brokerage doesn't support it or has the best buying power available, Tasty Trade is the way to go. That's what we found over and over again. So here's a question kind of related to that, which is what bankroll is suggested? And that's a good question.
Yeah. For one individual safeguard trade, when the volatility is high, like right now, you probably need around $2,500 to $3,000 to do one of them. And then every month when it expires or you close it out, take your risk off, you'll just add another one in. When volatility is lower and the average is around 17 or so, which I think at some point we're going to get back to that just because it happens all the time where volatility will mean revert. You'll need less. You need about $1,200 to $1,500 for the trade. So it's the minimum, but it's easily scalable. So you could do multiple contracts. You could do ES instead of MES. You just multiply those numbers by 10. So it's helpful for relatively smaller accounts and large accounts. I help members that have multiple six-figure accounts and they're doing this with ES. And then we have other members that are still learning and they're going off like a $4,000 or $5,000 account or so.
Yeah. And again, the goal is reliable, consistent income that is resistant to horrendous markets, which is what we're seeing at the moment. So it's a good time to be doing this webinar in general. So WWDZ Gaming said this is a good question. That was about what bankroll suggested. Hopefully we answered that a little bit. MJ Lewis is asking, is this a good strategy to grow a small account? Can this strategy be traded in an IRA account? We get these questions all the time, by the way, so Lance is an expert at answering them. What is an ideal starting account balance for this strategy? Good question.
So I already said the account balance. Minimum, you should have around 4,000 to 5,000. Ideal starting, you probably should have a little more than that. probably 10 to 15,000 or so, just so you could do additional trades besides just one a month. To grow a small account, I started this with a relatively small account. I think I started around 2.5 years ago with $10,000 in it, and I took it to around 13,000 in about 4 months when I first started it out. So it is possible to grow a small account pretty well on it. You could trade it in an IRA. Tasty Trade again is the main one that people will use these strategies for an IRA for. For the IRA, margin requirements are a little higher. It's just because of the IRS guidelines on IRAs and Roth IRAs, but it's still possible. And we have quite a few members doing it in their IRAs and Roth IRA.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think we should hide the fact here that you can do this with small accounts for sure. But the bigger the amount of capital you have, the better this is, right? If you have $1 million account, this is for you because this is safe, it's secure, and you can make a small percentage but still make significant income with these safeguard trades. And so we do encourage people with larger accounts, but we also don't want to dissuade people with smaller accounts from doing it either.
Sure.
So it's kind of a hard line to walk. Like, we've talked about this before, Lance, where we're like, people with large accounts make way more money by doing this, but small account people can learn the basics, and then you can always add to the account as they make money outside of trading, right, or as they start to compound, whatever. So
yeah, for the large accounts, you'll have a little bit more flexibility when the market changes. In a small account, you'll be a little bit more limited. You could do certain hedges, but you won't be able to do a ton of different unique things that we have with larger accounts. That doesn't mean it doesn't work, though.
Right. Another question from Dion Gibson. What about Tradeovocate? That's that copying program, right? Like, I think that's where you...
Is it? I'm not sure. I don't think anyone's using that one.
No, I'm not sure what Tradeovate is. I've seen it mentioned before. What exactly is that?
I think it's just a buy or sell futures. I don't think they do options at all.
Oh, okay.
It says
so probably not useful.
Yeah. Thinkorswim, Tasty Trade, Interactive Brokers are the three big ones.
Ones to go for, yeah.
You could open up a Tasty Trade account with literally a few $1,000s. If you join the Safeguard, I'll go over how to answer the application questions, exactly what to look for, and pretty much everyone always gets approved with able to do all these strategies.
Here's a really good question. Do you have other strategies that work well for small accounts? Yes, he does. He has a lot of strategies, too many. And people often
the main ones will be in the quarterly plan. If Russell, you want to leave a link for that. Quarterly plan, we do credit spreads that are only 5 with. So, for instance, if a stock's at 150, I might sell 130 and buy 125 put. You only need $500 minus the credit you take in. So you might only need about $450 to do that trade. I do 0 DTE every day as well. That needs $1,000 minus the credit you take in. So yeah, those work for small accounts. You should consider the quarterly plan as well. Any plan that I give, we do the hedge guide included as well. So I want to make sure everyone is properly able to hedge and play defense when we need to.
Yeah, so you can build your way up to futures. A lot of people start off with a quarterly plan. They start with the credit spreads, the 0 DTE, SPX stuff. And then as they get more advanced, they start to go into the future stuff, which in my opinion is the best out there. Like, there really isn't any other strategies that have the same high probability safety that are in the futures, especially with your new improved safeguard approach as well, which is good. Tradeovocate is used a lot in prop firms, apparently. Prop firms are unfortunately of no use to selling options. They're not useful at all. It's a shame because it would be phenomenal if you could get $1 million or $200,000 in prop firm capital and sell futures on them, but they don't let you do it, unfortunately. So yeah. The Baconator is saying, what percentage of larger account would you use to attain the overall 2% monthly return?
It's a 2% goal no matter what your account size. If you do a $10,000 account, like the goal will be the $200 a month. If you have $100,000, it'll be $2,000 a month. Like I help members in all ends of the spectrum. Again, we have some with $5,000 accounts. We have some with $500,000 accounts, and that's why it's like I need to know like who the member is. I'm like, oh yes, I know you have a large account and you're doing so and so. So here's a few things to consider. If it's a smaller account, they might do other things. That's why again, I'm a teacher. I like to make this more personalized compared to a lot of other strategies or discords where they say this is what you're doing and that's it. Like I want to be more flexible because people are flexible and not only their account size but their risk tolerance and what they're wanting to do with their accounts.
Yeah, and a lot of this stuff might sound complicated, especially if you're not used to the idea of either sell side trading or futures trading or future trading and sell side trading. It might sound all extra complex, but I got the hang of it pretty quickly with thanks to Lance. And Lance is one of the most hands-on teaching people out there, will really help you above and beyond. My wife actually told me that Lance needs to stop helping people as much because he's going to burn himself out because he helps his students in ThetaTraders too much. And she said it's not a sustainable business model. So,
Yeah.
and she's not that far off. You do help a lot of people.
It's pretty much true, but I love teaching people, so like I don't mind it.
So yeah. Anyway, let's talk about the giveaway. So I've noticed a few of you guys have been going into the giveaway here. The idea here is we'll announce who will win a free Safeguards subscription for lifetime, which is, I think at the moment, it's $11.97 on the website. If you look at ThetaTraders.com, it's the Safeguard tier on there. It's $11.97, and so it's well worth winning. So I really hope somebody who's watching this wins this. And so what we're going to do is I am going to look through my list. So I have this email list which has like 50 people on it now. So not a lot, but like a decent number of people. You have a decent chance of winning, right? 1 out of 50.
Yeah, 50. Pretty good.
Yeah, like 56. So it's 1 out of 56. So you have a 1 out of 56 chance of winning, assuming you're even still on this call, which you might not be. Who knows? And so what we usually do is we have Lance basically do a random number generator between 1 and 56 in this case. And then we'll pick in the list that I have, we'll pick the name and email address. And I'll try and announce it, and then we'll send you a private email as well. Sure. But I'll announce it without giving away all your details as we go here. So do you want to do that, Lance?
Yeah. Do you see my screen?
I don't see your screen right now. I need to go back to here or add to stage. All right. So you are doing a random generation here.
All right. Random number 1 in 56, you said?
Yep.
3, 2, drum roll. 3, 2, 1.
This is life-changing stuff. This subscription could really, if you dedicate yourself to this, wow, it's right at the end. If you dedicate yourself to this strategy, it can change your life for sure. So you're at 55, so that's easy for me because I just have to look at the list and look at the second to last one, right? So it's pretty easy to do. So I'm going to do that right now. And so what I'm going to do is post the name, and then I'm going to put some of the email in and then asterisk out some of the email so you're not like exposed to people online. So let me just do that in the chat right now and see if you are Joe, so J-O. So if you're a Joe, then you're in for a treat here. So let me just put the actual thing into the chat. So we have Joe, and then I'm going to put some asterisks for your Gmail account. And you've won the subscription, so your name is Joe.
Congratulations.
So I asked to stir out some of your email there, but just so you recognize your email if you're watching this, which I hope you are, because I hope people are watching this and then learning more about it and not just entering for the sake of getting a free subscription. But the name that was put in was J-O, Joe, and this was the email address. So congratulations to Joe. I think you're really going to enjoy the service. We'll reach out to you via email. I think it's going to be something that you're going to take forward and probably never look back from, because this service is something that is really special, really unique, and I think it's going to be something that you'll really benefit from going over the next few years. So let's answer a few more questions, and then let's make sure you guys have a link to the service if you want to join. You can also contact Lance through ThetaTraders.com if you have any questions. We do payment plans, so if you don't feel like coughing up the $11.97, you can do a payment plan with us. We do it on a sort of per person basis, and we're quite flexible, but we generally, work with people the best we can. So let's go through some more questions.
If anyone's in ThetaTraders.com that's not in Safeguard, send me a message and we'll use what you pay as a credit. We'll give you a good deal on it as well.
Yeah, we do a lot of things that kind of put us out of business like that. Like we do a lot of like putting people's previous payments towards payments for other services, including other services that Lance might be involved with. We also give special deals for that too. So if you're involved with any other services Lance is involved with, sometimes if you email Lance, you'll get a special deal based on that. So that we really try and work with people to get people the best possible prices for these things while still trying to make this an actual business that is actually sustainable for us in the long term. So we have a few other questions here. We have, how long does it take to learn? It doesn't take long to learn at all. There's a strategy guide and Lance is there for you. It'll probably take you half an hour to figure out what's going on.
Right, Josh, I think we've talked on Facebook for almost a year already. I see you're back thinking about it. Yeah, it's about, for futures, I would say you could know how to put in the trades in about 30 minutes to an hour. To look at all the nuances and how to manage trades and adjust based on the market, it could take a couple of months in the end. But Safeguard has lifetime access. This isn't a type of service where you just want to join for a month and then leave thinking that you know everything about what could happen. This is an ongoing, just adaptive process at times, where many times it's going to be pretty straightforward exactly what to do. But when the market goes crazy, this is why I'm here to help out, where other services might just go like a turtle in the shell and they hide. I'm here to help, especially when these conditions happen. When the Trump tariffs first came out, I was on Zoom for like 5 hours.
Wow.
Okay, I'll help on another Zoom now because people are free and asking questions. But that's why I'm here. So.
Quick question from Aaron here. Can you do the hedge, the put debit spread part of it on its own in any type of trading account?
Pretty
or
much.
Margin account, right?
Yeah, any account will let you do a put debit spread. Even Robinhood, Thinkorswim, Tasty Trade. You'll just buy a put, sell a put below it, so you're paying a debit on it. And yeah, you can do that on its own too. That's one of the hedging strategies. I know you're already a member, so you can look at the hedging channel on Discord, and I go over when to do those things like a put debit spread. You can also do ratio spreads, buy a put, butterflies. There's a lot of different ways you can go about it.
Yeah, for sure. So another question here. Did you say earlier that Lens has not lost a 0 DTE SPX trade this year? You got to be careful how I say things. So I didn't say he's never lost a 0 DTE SPX trade this year. I said he hasn't lost a Safeguard trade, which is the topic we're talking about tonight. I'm sure he's lost a 0 DTE SPX trade this year. For sure, like absolutely.
Yeah, zero DTE, we have lost a decent amount with the Trump tariffs. Last year was a good return. We were at almost 48%. This year, we're close to even. We're on a good streak right now. I think we're at like 7 or 8 wins in a row. But yeah, you're never going to have 100% win rate on those.
And so I just posted the purchase link. If you do like the idea of the Safeguard trade with futures and you want that help from Lance that you won't get anywhere else, and that you want that ability to be able to say, hey, I'm setting up my Tasty Trade account. I'm struggling here. How do I do this? Is this easy? Can you help me through this process? And then give me the alerts, which is something Lance is amazing at. You can purchase the Safeguard trade at the link that I just put in the description, or contact Lance or I for a potential payment plan. I know some people just don't want to put the money up front. Maybe it's a psychological thing. Like maybe you just don't want to put it all up front. We do insist on the payments. I mean, it's like payment plans for a car. You don't just like sign up for a payment plan, then go, well, I can't be bothered paying anymore.
Yeah,
It's a
they
payment
repo your
plan,
car that way.
and so we do payment plans for people though that are maybe a bit nervous about putting up 1,100 and whatever it is bucks in one go. But we do work with people, and so reach out to ThetaTraders.com for more information about that. That will take you to Lance. I think you get all those messages. If you want to email me, I try and handle some of this stuff to try and take the load off of Lance a little bit because he's so busy with so much stuff. My email is stockalertsreviewed@protonmail.com. I'll post it in here at protonmail.com. And so I'll try and set you up with the best possible deal that we can for these safeguard trades as well going forward. So it's definitely something worth investing in, especially with the hindsight of the experience that Lance has gained over the last year or two. So it's one thing to trade safeguard trades in a good market. It's a different ball game when you're playing in a field where VIX is spiking to 60 and maintaining 30 or 40 all the time. And
Right.
Lance has become a much better trader, in my opinion, just from the fact that you've learned from previous volatility spikes, and you're able to really beat that now and actually make money from it rather than being its victim. So I can't think of anybody better, and I've watched a lot of people in this space that do similar style of trading. They haven't learned from their mistakes, but you have, and that's something huge.
You see a lot of them just stay quiet. I've heard a few other Discord channels, none that you're involved in, Russell, but I've heard some when the volatility spiked, the runners of the channel just stayed completely quiet, and people needed the most help then, and that's exactly when they stayed quiet about it. Probably because they were too nervous about hearing negativity and all that. But I was very active, like a lot of our members, and I definitely appreciate all the members we have. Like they were definitely supportive of saying, okay, here's the issue right now. How do I fix it? They weren't just playing the blame game of, I need to make sure that I don't lose all my money and stuff like that, and they're not blaming me. So.
Yeah, some more questions and statements coming in. I've just put one up that's very positive on the screen here, just for kind of like from a real member, Mario. Just want to mention very quickly, C Theo 12 is saying, can you repeat that again? What was the win rate for your 0 DTE SPX in 2024 to 2025? It was about 50% increase in account size, 50% account size growth, right? ROI.
I'll post the link for it on the. I don't know if it'll let me post it because YouTube is a bit annoying about that.
You could private chat it to me and then I'll post it for him.
Okay.
But yeah, we're not really talking about the 0 DT SPX, but it is actually phenomenal. We did just start a recent service with a guy called Phil who's doing really well, and Lance is doing really well in that too. So if you're interested in that, reach out and we'll talk about 0 DTE SPX as well. I'm just going to post the Google spreadsheet here that Lance sent me. This is his 0 DTE SPX trade, so nothing to do with what we're talking about here. Remember, we're talking about safeguard trades, which is future.
I don't mind answering questions about any of my services, though. So as you guys have them, feel free.
So I posted that Google Doc spreadsheet because Lance really keeps careful records and is very transparent about everything. So if there's losses, there's losses. If there's not, there's not. And so, yeah. So let's see what else we have. So we have Mario saying, I've been a member for close to 2 years now and mainly only look at the safeguard trades. My account is smaller, started at 15K and increased to 22K in 1 year for about 45% in the year. So that's phenomenal. That's well done, Mario, especially given how bad last year was. Last year was horrendous with Volmageddon, and it's been even worse this year. So Lance's adaptations to the strategy have helped a lot this year too. So things are looking a lot brighter going forward. So I have only positive thoughts about the safeguard strategy going forward as well.
And he's very active asking for questions and clarification. And that's the main reason why I made this service. I want people to ask questions, see what they're thinking. I'll give my advice and opinions as well. Because you don't see that in a lot of other channels where, they just say, this is the alert, do it, and that's it. Like, I'm here to help with different situations that you have.
Yeah, for sure. And he's saying some extra stuff here about positions being tested. And this is where somebody like an expert like Lance comes in. And you don't get this with many other services out there. And I've tested hundreds of these things over the years, is you don't get the time that you do with somebody like Lance with these slightly smaller services where they're more dedicated. They actually care. They aren't just money grabbing. They actually want you to succeed. And I think that's something that's been really helpful for a lot of members as well. So Mario is saying I found myself wanting to get tested on positions because it was so boring and wanted to learn management of the position, but we just kept on winning. Well, so that's good. That's good to see as well.
Sounds boring's good as long as it's working out, right?
So let's go through the offer really quick. So I posted the link to the safeguard offer, but let me share my screen with the offer and go through what you actually get for your money, and you can ask questions about this. And also, again, plan your strategy if you want to offer a payment plan. We're open to it. It's not our favorite choice because sometimes people default on payments just for whatever reason. Their credit card companies decline the payments, and we have to fight them for it and stuff. But we are open to it because we understand that people have different needs and things. So let me just try and add this to the stage, and we can kind of talk about the actual deal, the bonuses, what you get with this strategy. It's not too complex, but we haven't mentioned a couple of things which might be important to you or it might not. Let's have a look. So I'm going to add this to the stage. We go full screen here. So this is the link that I posted. And so it takes you to the Safeguard ThetaTraders Launchpass link. You can get more information on ThetaTraders.com itself about exactly all the details, but you can see here what the basic things are here. Basically, there's safeguard trades. These safeguard trades are a put debit spread, so nothing too complicated. If you don't know what it is yet, Google it. It's very simple. It's not scary at all. And then two naked puts, which are not scary at all once you combine them with the put debit spread. The futures give you that margin of safety that you don't get with equities or indices, which is really cool. And so this is basically what you get with the system. So you get a free month of credit spreads and hedges as a bonus. So Lance agreed to share this stuff with you guys if you sign up through this link that I've been posting in the chat. You get the future strangles, and we really didn't talk about the future strangles a lot. What's the win rate on that at the moment, Lance? That's been pretty solid as well, right?
Currently managing one, and 2024 was 100% win rate as well.
Right.
The market's shooting up tonight. There's a chance that we are going to close out our current one that we're managing pretty soon as well. But if not, we know exactly how to plan for it and deal with
So remember, you're getting these safeguard trades, which are the core part of it, and they're done on ES depending on your account size and MES depending on your account size. That's guided by Lance. He's there to help you decide which one you want to do. Then you get the credit spread and hedges as a bonus. You get the future strangles as a bonus, and those are actually pretty profitable. I remember doing those last year quite a bit. And those are profitable. You get annoyed if you miss out on those.
Yeah.
You also get gold and oil trades. So we do these 112s on gold and oil. So not just the market, not just on ES and MES, but gold and oil as well, which could be interesting in a market where gold is acting extremely differently from what it normally would do. And oil probably is as well. I haven't been following it super closely. But you get all the strategy guides involved with these things as well. All for $11.97. Again, if you want a payment plan, we're happy to do one. Just honor the payments. That's all we ask. So, yeah.
You also get a one-on-one Zoom call with me. Once you've read through the guides and seen some of the videos, we could talk about exactly how to implement the strategy based on your account size, based on your risk tolerance. And I also do monthly group Zoom calls where it's sometimes like a Q&A on a certain strategy. Sometimes it'll be, more deep dive into hedging or volatility and things like that. So you also get access to that for life.
Yeah, which is invaluable because having a mentor is one of the keys to success, right? That's where it's at. You need somebody who knows what they're doing. So check out ThetaTraders.com if you're completely new to all this. Look through the different plans and see what might fit you. Reach out via the contact form to Lance on there or email us at the address that I provided earlier, stockalertsreviewed@protonmail.com. And yeah, is there any other questions about this? Do you want to see an example trade for example, do we have anything we can show them in terms of like a trade that recently closed or anything that might help people decide whether this is a strategy that's right for them?
I can show a sample trade if you want me to share my screen.
Sure, if it helps people. I don't know how many more people are interested here. A lot of people left after we got rid of the free win, right? So, which is predictable. But those are the people that aren't going to succeed as well, because the people that stick around and listen to the whole thing and ask questions are always going to do better in general. So I'm going to add you to the stage here. Just looking for free stuff is not always the answer, right?
Yeah, you see them immediately leave like, oh, Lance isn't fair because I didn't win the free lifetime that I'm just giving away with
Right.
no questions asked. All right. So here's Thinkorswim. Here's MES. That's the futures contract. I'm just showing it on paper right now. What you could do is look at these premiums and multiply by 5 for all these on MES. So a possible trade I might do is sell around the 4,500 put. That's really far away from the current price. We're at 53.81. Selling the 4,500 is almost 1,000 points out of the money. From this, you could take in around 10.25 times 5 for MES. So you take in about $55 or so just from selling one of these. What I would probably do is sell 2 instead. So you double that amount, you're taking in about $100 or so. And then you want to find a way to essentially protect your account if it drops that much. And one of the main ways I go about it, there's about 10 different ways, by the way. I typically use 2 or 3 of them. But one of the main ways you could do is go really far out, 150 days out, and then sell pretty close to that same price. So you could buy a 4,300, sell a 4,200. Sorry, I gotta click the right one here. Control there. And then what I could do is use some of the credit that I took in to help protect it. And this will be a debit. So if you took in about 100 and you're paying about 60 or so dollars from this protection, you're still netting about $40, $50 on the trade. And then if it drops a lot to that 4,200, you can make an extra $500 on this trade. So it gives a good amount of protection for a big downturn. And then what we do is we stack these on every month. So when the initial trade that around 24 days out, when this expires worthless, we sell another one. And we just keep stacking on those put debit spreads. So just imagine having 5, 6 of those big protection that I have against just a small amount of the risk from the naked puts that we sell. And that's where it definitely smoothens the curve with volatility spikes, with down markets. And you can make it consistent 2.5%, relatively straightforward that way. Then obviously when other conditions arise, we could do other things like buy really low puts. You could buy a put for say 3,500 strike, and it'll only cost you like $10 or so. But when the volatility spikes, this could easily turn into $50, $100 right there. So that's some of the basics there. There's quite a bit more to it, but that's sample trade.
Yeah, for sure. So if you guys don't have any more questions, we'll wrap it up, but we're happy to answer any questions you have. If you don't understand the strategy, let us know. If you want to know who to email, let us know. We'll give you a few minutes just to kind of figure things out here, and then if not, then we'll call it a night. It's been an hour already, and it was quite funny to see half of the people leave as soon as the winner was called for the free thing. And I know times are tough at the moment. The market's horrible. People are suffering. Tariff wars causing problems in the short term, at least. So I understand that people are looking for ways to make some money. Here's a question from Lisa. So what delta were you looking at?
In that example, it was around a 0.05 delta. Sometimes I'll go higher, like 0.08 to 0.1 delta on the sold puts. It depends on the technical analysis and where the safer strikes are. So it's pretty flexible, but I usually look around 0.05 to 0.1 delta.
Yeah, and you can expect to win the vast majority of these trades. And it really is something, if you hate losing, this could be the strategy for you, because it really is something that is very high probability. You're not going to make 20% a month from it, but yeah.
Like if you saw a 0.05, if you saw a 0.05 delta, there's a 95% chance that it will expire worthless. And that's pretty straightforward. Most of the time it works out. But that 5% of the time where it doesn't work out or it's getting close, those are the times where you need a support like me that could help you explain what to do in those situations.
Martin J's joking here. He's saying, make another draw for ones that still support. Wish we could. But this is a business to run, and Lance works his butt off on this stuff. And it's hard enough, as it is, without giving away free stuff all the time. We try our best to help people.
I think since we've done live streams, we've given out almost 10 free memberships. It's been a lot.
Right. Yeah, so we try and do the best we can, but at some point Lance needs compensated for his many hours of time putting into helping people in the Discord and going from there. So yeah. Aaron, yeah, thanks for coming to yet another of these these webinars that we do. We appreciate your 100% support rate. It's fantastic. So it's always good. So
Aaron's a lifelong learner. That's what I like to see and help out.
Yeah. Yeah, that separates the winners from the losers, though, right? Like, she learns something every single time, and if she doesn't, she asks you in a different message. So it looks like the comments and questions have really dried up here, which I'm assuming means you all are not interested anymore, or are preparing to buy the product and immediately talk to Lance or me about about going forward. Either way, let's call it a night. It's already 9 p.m. Central Time here, which means you guys on the East Coast are probably starting to get towards bedtime. And so let's go.
So, all right, guys. Send me a message at ThetaTraders.com. There's a contact form. And as you have questions, feel free to let me know. If it's a simple question that's about any type of option trades, or you're worried about the market, what to do, even if you're not a member, I'll answer a quick question there. If you want to go into a lot more detail, you want to sign up for one of my services. Okay.
Pretty good. All right, guys. Well, thanks for staying for the whole time and not just running off as soon as the free subscription was gone. Appreciate it very much. And hopefully we'll see you in the communities, in the Facebook group that I have, or the Discords that Lance and I have run as different Discords. And hopefully you guys have a good night and make some more money tomorrow morning. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. Bye, guys. Have a good night.